Hey guys, and welcome back to the Blaze TV podcast. It's Ed Kimberley hosting, as always. And I got a great guest on the show. It's been a busy old week. I feel like we're running through the podcast thick and fast right up until the start of the season, which it is nuts to me. I think I've said this the last 3 or 4 episodes in a row. It's crazy how close it is now to us actually being in the Sky Dome and watching hockey live in person. And we're going to be seeing my guest on this episode, Alexander Kuquali, patrol the blue line, his first year outside of North America. And we were just chatting before we hit record, and I can already tell that Alexander's going to be a real fan favorite. Alexander, thank you so much for giving up some time to join me on the podcast here. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely, Ed. Happy to be here. Excited to come across the pond, and like you said, everyone's ready to get things going. Hockey season's almost here, and I can't wait for it. It's been a long off season, so it's exciting to finally have things come together here soon.
For sure. It's funny, like off-ice staff, on-ice team, everybody's feeling the same right now. It's let's just get things going. Everybody's as excited as each other. Let's talk about the surname to start with, because I always think this is a kind of important thing. What's the best way for the Blaze fans to pronounce your surname?
It's Kuquali. So it'd be like Koocall and then EE. So Kuquali, super easy. Looks weird. It definitely is spelled weird. U before the Q and not after.
Yeah.
But I can thank my dad for that. It's Albanian, so that's the spelling.
Awesome.
And hey, you get what you're given, and so I just get to explain it a couple more times than other people.
No, I was going to ask because it's an awesome name. I love how it's put together. So I was just going to ask if you knew where it originated from. So, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you stay in touch with the culture much as well?
I'm sorry?
Do you stay because on your dad's side, right, in the Albanian culture, do you kind of kept in touch with that as well?
Yeah, actually, we just went over there. We did a little birthday trip for my dad, and we ended up going seeing some of our old cousins and some of my great cousins on that side. And it had been about 10 years for me, just from hockey and school. And once the season starts, you really don't have time to kind of meander outside. And then I was taking classes, and just life gets in the way, and then global pandemic gets in the way. Yeah. And you're not able to travel as much. So this was the first little bit of time that he had, and I did too. And my brother and we were able to go over and see some family, and just a quick couple days, but we hit a couple spots other than that, and it was a blast. And I always love Europe, and yeah, it was fun to get back over there and see some familiar faces, because last time they saw me, I was just a little kid.
Oh yeah, wow.
I'm just a bigger kid. So.
I actually genuinely, having seen your tape and watching you play, I can't imagine you being a little kid ever, even when you were like 10 years old. You were the big kid.
No, I'm not little. And maybe up here I'm a goofball, but it's I like to have fun. You have to laugh. You got to be having fun, right? If you're not having fun, then you got to figure something else out that makes you happy. Sure. So I'm still having fun playing and coaching and being around the guys, and the whole culture is just something. I've done it my whole life, and I just really don't think you can put a price on it. So yeah, I'm excited to get back and get to the Sky Dome. I've heard so many good things. I've talked to a couple old teammates of mine that have played there, and I've just heard nothing but great things about the city, the team, and the fan support. So all things considered, I'm incredibly grateful for the opportunity, and I'm ready to get going.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to having you. Are you a little bit ready for a trip down memory lane, just to have a bit of a whistle stop through your career here? Because I love doing that.
Yeah, let's hear it. Let's hear the good, the bad, and whatever else you could dig up.
Lots of good, and I think that's probably a testament to obviously to yourself. But one of the things that Coach Danny Stewart's said since he's been the coach here is that he's recruiting hockey players. And obviously, he wants that good product on the ice, but first and foremost is he wants good people. And we'll talk about this a little bit more, but I think your resume, if you look into it, just speaks for itself. And one of the things that I noticed straight away is you played your junior hockey in the USHL, and correct me if I'm wrong, that's a league that's kind of geared up to nudging guys towards the NCAA, right? Was it always the college route that you were thinking of for your development?
Yeah, definitely. So I played a year in the tier 2 of junior before the USHL. So it was 1 year in the North American League in Northern Michigan, and then I played 3 years after that in the USHL. But yeah, growing up, I mean, for my brother and I, it was always the goal to play college hockey, because when you're younger, you know, you see junior hockey, but it's really like, you know, you have your eyes on the like the Michigans and the Boston colleges and, you know, the Notre Dames and North Dakotas, and you see that, and it's funny because when you're younger, it's so far away, but in a matter of time, you know, now you're in the conversation of, okay, well, I'm playing against kids that are going to these schools and committed, and I'm competing with them, and, you know, why, right? If you're putting in the work, why is there no reason that I can do the same thing? And that comes from, you know, making sure that you're putting in the work and the training, but also, like you said, being a good person and being able to handle multiple things at a time, like being a university student and an athlete and holding down a job and doing extracurriculars, right? Like that's just being a good adult. That's just being, like, you know, productive in life, I think, to be able to juggle all those things and not just go, oh, I'm just a hockey player, right? And that's all I am, and that's all I do. You can't be like a single-minded person like that. I don't think you'd ever really grow to your full potential. So, but it was a blast. I wouldn't trade my route for anything. I went to a smaller Division I school, but the support there was incredible at RIT in Rochester, New York, and I made some of the best memories I have and some of my best friends that I still talk to today. So I'm incredibly, you know, grateful for the opportunities I've had and the people that have helped me. But yeah, it was always the college route. I never wanted to play major junior. That was never, I just didn't think the trade-off was worth it. So if I can go to school and get a degree and play hockey and have the atmosphere and play in front of my friends, because that's something I didn't really get to do growing up, because if you play travel hockey, you're not really playing high school hockey. So people knew I was a hockey player, but not that, you know, I'm looking for, you know, any sort of like glitz and glam. I don't really care about that. But just from like people that you go to school with, you know, they didn't really know what you did and they never really saw you. So it was fun when you got to school, because then kids in your class and people that I worked for, and, you know, they would come to the games and they would give such good support. It just kind of made everything a little bit better in the community feel, you know, where, you know, they're integrated just as much as you are, and it makes you work that much harder because, you know, you're not just playing for your team and the logo, you're playing for everyone that's coming to watch you. And it's just kind of like a full circle feeling. So, but that was a longer answer, but yeah, it was always university for me.
I gotcha. So I guess at some point you've done some media training. I can tell straight away. Get the answer from the guy and go.
I think I just love to hear myself talk. So,
well, hey,
but
look,
I usually, people usually find me for the interviews. I think I give a little bit of everything. So a little bit good entertainment.
If you're the media guy's best friend, I'm sure they're a good friend to have no matter what organization you're in. You said it was a smaller school, RIT, but you know, you had a lot of success while you were there. I mean, we're going to talk about that in a minute, but why choose RIT in the first place? What was it appealed to you about Rochester?
Well, I was going into my last year of junior hockey, and they had a big, they call it the Fall Classic at the beginning of the season, like the big preseason tournament, where it's not just a couple games, it's every single team. Now they've changed it since then, but they had every single team there, so all the colleges can go in one spot and see all the games. And you know, I talked to a few other schools in years prior, but what really kind of made me choose Rochester was speaking with the coach, Wayne Wilson. He didn't look at me as just a defensive defenseman. You know, he could see that I had other skills besides that. And as you get older, you get more opportunities. And I know my role, and I know what I like to do best, which is, you know, play defense and shut down. And I take pride in that. It's fun to me. But I also have offensive upside, and that was the one good thing that he noticed, because none of the other coaches really did, and he had that confidence in me, going, I see more than what your main role is, you know. And that's an opportunity for growth, and he realized that, and I knew that. But when you get on someone, you know, when you get on the same page with someone like that, especially your head coach, it's only going to be good things. So I knew the opportunities were going to be there, not just defensively, but a chance to, you know, show another side of my game that typically I guess isn't highlighted. But then once I got to RIT, I took my official visit. The fans, like the student section, the corner crew there, were just absolutely nuts. Every game, home or away, it was so much fun. And they would sometimes we would have larger crowds of our fans at like away rinks than the teams we
Whoa.
played. And they would travel, and they always had our back, and it just made you feel like you were playing at home, even if you weren't at home. And
Yeah.
just the support we got. So we were the only D1 sport at school. The rest of the school was
Oh.
D3. So you were kind of, not,
Yeah. Yeah.
maybe big dogs. Our lacrosse team was really good, like nationally ranked. They just won a national championship too. But
Wow.
from D3 to D1, it's just like it's still a little bit of a difference. But I just loved everything about the campus. It wasn't so big where you felt like you could like never see someone again, like cross them once and then you wouldn't see them the rest of the year. You kind of, like I said, you had that community feel. You knew who was where and what people liked to do and what they liked about you and what they probably didn't too. But all in all, I wouldn't have traded anything, and I loved my 4 years there. And I would train there in the summers, and our coaches were always great about having the alumni back, because who better to teach the young kids than all
Yeah.
the old guys who have gone through it, and a lot of my teammates are still playing from even my class to younger. And the team's best when you get everyone on board, right?
Yeah.
Not that it doesn't matter if you're a senior and you're 26 or you're a freshman and you're 18. Once everyone gets on the same page, that's when success starts to happen. And until you bring everyone up to speed, it's going to be that rocky road until you can kind of start to gel. So with the family and the sport and the community that I had there, top notch, and I loved
Yeah.
every second of it. And I still have many friends, like I said today, that from faculty to classmates to teammates, it's just a really special place in my heart that I hold it.
It's interesting. I mean, maybe this is just because I've done this a little while, but you speak to guys who they play major, junior, and it was fine. They can go to NCAA, and went to a school, and it was cool. They had a good time. But you pick out guys every now and then where that community fit, that culture fit, and everybody benefits from that. You benefit, the school benefits, the team benefits, and clearly RIT benefited from partly from your presence there, because 75% of the years you were there, you won. Which is relatively speaking pretty unheard of. How were all those three? How were all of those 3 years different? All those 3 cups in the AHA, or were they kind of a relatively similar scenario?
So I think that's a typo, because I think it was only 2. There was only 2.
Oh, okay.
The school overall has 3, but my last 2 years, we won my last 2 years.
Okay.
The Atlantic Hockey Conference now they call it. But like I said, like those were 2 like of the best years of my life. And what was great about it was, I mean, I had so many friends, and we were so close those 2 years when I was younger. And it just didn't work out. And like, you need everything to happen right.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need a little bit of luck. You could do everything right, and that still doesn't mean you're guaranteed anything, because everyone else is doing the same thing. But we had a lot of adversity, and we got through that. A lot of injuries, and guys came back, and we had a lot of guys step up. And that was the best part, is that everyone was in a different role, but they still were able to contribute at like really key moments, which is what most teams that have success say, where it's not always your top line. Sometimes it's like a fourth liner, or like a defenseman scoring, or like a huge defensive block, or like your goalie making an incredible save, where everyone's pulling on the chain, and it ends up bringing everyone success. So, but to win the first year, the school holds us to like a really high standard, and they should, right? Like if you're not, I don't think that's somewhere you really want to be if they're just okay with whatever happens. So, but we won my junior year, and then to repeat that and finish my senior season was incredible. And my junior year, when we went to the tournament, we were the first team in the new playoff format to ever upset a number 1 seed. So we did that to Minnesota State, Mankato. I scored in that game. It's something I'll never forget. That's what I mean. In a game like that, it's like, not that I expected it to, but I ended up getting the first goal, and we won 2-1, and a crazy game, and something that I'll never forget. And I know a lot of people won't, because it's just kind of like an historical moment and something I'll always get to remember. But yeah, the last 2 years, winning the conference, I mean, those guys are my brothers for life, and that's how I see it. And I'm still, incredibly close with a lot of them, and in different capacities. Like you said, life happens, and
yeah,
none of my friends are in the same city I live in, but we travel around and we catch them, whether it's in the summer or playing in different cities or playing against each other, right? So a lot of them are in different countries in Europe playing now, and it's just fun to see where everyone goes. You don't really have like a roadmap to where you're going to end up and how you're going to get there, but the paths are always crossing, and you never know where you're going to see them, and whether it's hockey related or not. And I'm just really happy and thankful I have such a close web of people, not just that I played with, but from the coaching staff to the training staff to, like I said, my teachers, classmates, and just friends that I've made in Rochester, and that's carried me to this day.
Have you got to the point in your life yet where you find that former teammates, former coaching staff and whatnot get together at weddings in the summer? That seems to be a recurring theme for guys I speak to.
Every summer I've had, it's a wedding of one of my teammates or a mutual teammate of ours that, we're meeting up. And like one of my best friends, he's getting married next week in Chicago. So I have, one more wedding, and for this summer. And like all the guys are going to be there. Like most of the guys from RIT are going to be there. If they're not already in Europe, unfortunately, some of them had to go already. It's like the Scandinavian countries that are already over there. But thankfully I was able to be there, and super excited. But yeah, the weddings are, because it's kind of like the one thing where you're like, you don't really want to miss that. It's such a marquee moment for a friend's life that you don't ever want to miss that. So we've had a couple every year, and it's always fun. Yeah, whether it's our one of our crews or someone that we both know. The weddings, that is the recurring theme. That's accurate.
Yep. I imagine that'll probably continue long through into your 30s and 40s, but yeah, I really do.
No, it will. Everyone's going at a different rate, so it's all spread out.
I think that's probably a good thing as well, and everybody's different. It's great to celebrate everyone's path, which is always going to be unique. Final thing on your college career, though, because I mean, I've only spoke to you for 10, 20 minutes. I'm already getting the sense that when you had that conversation with your coach at RIT in that senior year, and he slapped the old C on your chest, that was something that you took immense pride in. I imagine that was probably quite an emotional moment, right? Because, you're painting a picture of how much that community, how much that culture meant to you in RIT.
Yeah, I mean, anytime, and that's, voted by your peers, and I think that's how it always, for the most part, should be done like that. But to have that, I was an assistant my junior year, and I thought we had really good leadership those last 2 years, and we all came into it together, and we had a lot of meetings because the first 2 years didn't really go the way we wanted, and basically came down to, well, okay, like, how are we going to change this? Like, what are we going to have to do? Like, what are we doing now that isn't working, right? Like, you have to constantly audit what you're doing, how you're thinking, how you're acting, behaving, right? Because otherwise, if you don't have a plan, I've never heard anyone with incredible success go, well, it'll just happen. You know what I mean? Like, there's always some sort of blueprint to it, and you have to be constantly questioning and thinking, okay, is this the most efficient use of our time, how we're doing things, our, strategy on and off the ice. And to have that responsibility on me to make sure that everyone's going in the right direction, I don't have a problem with that. And I also don't have a problem with being the bad guy, and, there are people that have to do it, but it's like, I mean, you're either going to do it the way it should be done or don't do it at all. So if people need a little, but even in any dynamic of a team, you can't treat everyone the same. You have to understand how people respond. some people might need a fire under their butt, others might need a conversation, right? So, and that just comes with getting to know the people even more. Like I said, once you get everyone up to speed and they feel comfortable, like a freshman or a rookie player, right? Like you want to make sure everyone's on the same page, and only from there, I think you can really start to move forward. But yeah, having that honor, I mean, I appreciated it from my teammates, and I didn't want to let them down, and I didn't want to let my coaches down, and the fans who support us, and my classmates, and you want to bring that success, and that's just something I think that just always came easy to me. But I've also been on teams where I'm not a captain, but it doesn't mean you change. I've been with some of the best leaders I've ever played with weren't the captain or the assistant. And it's just how you conduct yourself, how do you carry yourself, what do you value, and do you hold yourself accountable just as much as you do to other people? And those are constant things. Like I said, you just have to keep auditing your processes and see what is working and what isn't, and continue what the good is and try and eliminate the bad. But it was an incredible honor. I loved every second of it. The good, the bad, the fights, and the verbal battles, and the guys don't want to, or they want to, it's like, no, don't cut any corners, because we had that success in the end, and I think that's because of that. So that's how I felt about that. I loved every second of it, and I'm incredibly grateful for the opportunity they gave me, and I was able to make the most of it.
I don't know why I feel like this. I'm strangely happy for you. Does that make sense? Like, I've only just met you, but like I'm getting that sense, because you achieved a lot off the ice as well. I mean, look, I wrote down your individual accolades just so I can remember them all. Third conference All-Star at one point, all tournament team, senior All-American. I don't know whether this is current, but you had the second most games in RIT in their D1 era. That's a lot for one sentence. But you also got the Green B. Williams Award for academia. So you're carrying yourself, with pride and well in the classroom as well. And I guess that attitude is really important, isn't it? That you take your studies as seriously as what you do on the ice.
Yeah, I've been fortunate to be around a lot of great pro hockey players, but not just that, just incredibly successful people. And that's where I spoke earlier, where they always said, don't just be a hockey player, because they said the biggest lesson I learned was that everything is connected. How you treat your parents, how you talk to other people that are higher or lower than you, how you hold yourself, how hard you work when no one's looking. It's the same way you're going to treat your girlfriend or your fiance, and how you play on the ice. Like, everything is connected. If you can't just say, oh, well, I love hockey, but I'm not going to do school. Like, if you're a mess in one part of your life, that's going to creep into everything else. Like, you have to hold yourself accountable. And I always took pride in that, because, like, why wouldn't you want to be the best or do your best? Like, there's no point in doing that if you're, like Ron Swanson says, the old saying in Parks and Rec, don't half-ass two things, whole-ass one thing. So if you're going to do the whole, kit and caboodle, like, why wouldn't you put your best foot forward? So that's how I always saw that. And because if I'm not going to do something 100%, I'm not going to do it at all. And that's just the kind of mindset I had. But school was always incredibly important to me. And my school didn't give athletic scholarships. So,
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So RIT is one of they do now.
Yeah.
But they didn't at the time, and that was a way for me to get the scholarship money. So if I had good grades, I would get extra money on top of that. So, and that just helped for me paying for school that I did myself. So it's just like, to me, you can coast by and kind of glide through, or you can really try and make the most of it. And I did that, and I carried a 3.93, GPA, and I ended up being the commencement speaker at the Saunders College of Business. Yeah, I gave the graduation speech for the College of Business, which was awesome, and something I'll never forget, and just something cool that my parents and my brother got to see and witness. And like you said, you're a hockey player, you're behind a cage to a lot of the people, but then they get to see you for, that you're a normal person, right? You're just like everyone else. Like, you have your likes, your dislikes, your pros, your cons, but you know, I'm another person, just like everyone else, doing this little dance of life.
That's one of the things I think you'll find that is great about the Blaze community. And I don't know what it's like anywhere else because I've only been one of the media guys here, but the fans are really quite close to the players. And I think that's been one of the strange things about the lockdown year and even last year, not being able to have that level of interaction. It was really strange. So I think you're probably going to enjoy that quite a lot when you come over. Before we move on to talking about your pro career, because I think we're knocking on the door of that. Do you remember playing Niagara in your senior year? And do you remember shorter guy buzzing around in the purple sweater, wearing number 41? I think you wore 41. Johnny Curran, your teammate for this year, because I think he'd had just been coming into Niagara when you were leaving, but there was some crossover there.
Yeah, the name is familiar. It's funny. If I see him, I will probably recognize him, but like in the gear, you know what I mean? Because you don't really see the guys off the ice for the most part. But I saw that. You look at your teammates and see where they played, and just see if you ever cross paths. And it's good to see an Atlantic hockey guy. They're more blue collar than like a blue chip NHL prospect. So. But it's good, because you kind of go through the same ups and downs and the grinds and the battles of everything, and it's good to. I can't wait to meet him. I'm excited to meet all the guys. But that Atlantic hockey kind of brotherhood, it's funny. It's like an unspoken thing, but it's just kind of like you're cut from the same cloth.
Yes, I understand.
So I don't remember him, personally through games or anything like that. But I'm sure once I see him, it'll click back. And
I think
I have a couple years on it. Yeah, exactly.
I gotcha. You'll have to help me out with the timeline of this because. You spent a few weeks down in Florida in the East Coast after the NCAA finished in your senior year. But there was also an invite to the New Jersey Devils training camp. Help me out with the chronology. Which came first?
Yeah, so we lost. So we won the Atlantic Hockey Conference, and then we went to the tournament. We played Quinnipiac, and then we lost. And then our season was over.
Right.
So then a couple days later, literally I got home Saturday, and Sunday I flew down to Fort Myers, and I played with the Everblades, and I was there for maybe 2 weeks. And then the last game of the season, I ended up getting just crushed from behind, and I ended up getting an AC separation in my shoulder. So then I was rehabbing that all summer, but thankfully I got healthy, and then I went to the prospect tournament with the Devils, so I was actually able to, get that experience of the NHL, it was really cool to see. And I got to play against one of my friends, one of my teammates who was playing for the Sabres.
Oh, okay.
And that was a blast too, just to, we were playing, we were in orange and black and, white, and now you're seeing them. It's like the first taste of, okay, we're out of college, right? We're in this new beast of hockey, this new level that we've been dreaming about for years. But I got to play in the game, and I got to put on an NHL sweater, and that was something I'll never forget. Holding it for the first time, going all right, I'm here with with everyone else. I've always had this confidence and this idea that I'm more than capable to be here, and here I am, and I get to show that. And then I went to the Albany Devils training camp after that, and both of them were incredible experiences, just to see the best of the best, and how, like you said, how they train, how they conduct themselves, how they handle adversity, and the good and the bad, and the mental fortitude that it takes to be able to get to that level. Because you're not there, you're at a prospect tournament, and you're putting on the jersey, but that doesn't guarantee you anything, because someone's looking for your job every day, right? You got to earn it every day, and that's just a constant reminder that you need to be doing all the right things all the time if you want to get to that level. But that was a chronological order of that.
Yeah.
So I did the prospect tournament, then I went to the Albany Devils camp, and then I played a preseason game with them, and then I ended up going back down to Florida, and then that was my first year in the ECHL.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think it was year 2 though. You stumbled upon a couple of guys who played for the Blaze in their time in pro hockey. You probably spoke to them. I think it was in Quad City where you bumped into Matt Polkamp and CJ Mott.
Yeah, Camps. Yeah, I miss Camps. I haven't seen him in a while. He's from Minnesota, so he's all the way out there. But I always had a great time with him. What a great shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, he really does have a rocket. And CJ Mott, yeah, I love Motter. I did. I talked to him. Um, he had nothing but really great. He's a pretty dry guy, but
Yeah. Oh yeah.
he gave a lot of good intel when I told him that I was talking to Danny, and he had nothing but great things. And obviously, like he said, I mean, an AHL deal is great. I think it's more than deserving for him. I think he's an
Yeah, for
incredible
sure.
goalie. And no, but he said great things about the team and the fan support and the city. And I was asking little tidbits, and what he liked, and tips and tricks and stuff like that. So he's been helping me out. But yeah, those two are fun guys in my past. So I thoroughly enjoyed my time with them, and I'm sure the fans enjoyed them too. Both good
Oh yeah.
players.
Two super popular guys. I think a lot of people were kind of gutted that Matty called it after just that 1 year with us. And CJ, I think everybody kind of thought and saw what you just said. That this guy's legit. He really should be kind of in the American Hockey League at the least. So when he came back after the COVID year, I think he was in Allen for a little while and maybe Bridgeport. I think he bounced up and down between the two. For him to sign for last year, I think was incredible. I mean, he's such a battler in the net. In terms of Matty Polkamp, though, I got to ask you about this because I've heard this from a couple of different guys. I think he might have been on a podcast talking about it, or maybe his brother Chris did because he played with us too. What was he like to travel with? Because apparently he had some pretty like kind of bizarre habits in Coventry. I don't know if you heard about this.
I don't know anything about this because I never roomed with him.
Okay, so
we were just. Here's the thing: in the Midwest, we were so close to the other teams that they were a lot of day trips. So we never really stayed over at night, and even the times we did, I never stayed with him. So I don't have any intel on that.
Okay. So I might have messed this story up, and it might have changed like Chinese whispers a little bit. But I heard a story that, I mean, you spend a few hours on the bus in the Elite League. I think that's fair to say. And it's something like a 6-hour drive up to a couple of the Scottish teams. So, what guys will do, they'll take the laptop, they'll get some uni work done if they're doing a uni thing. They'll take Netflix, they'll take whatever it is that will keep them entertained for that period. Apparently, Matty, I don't know whether it was just the first time or he did this a couple of times, hopped on the bus with just what he's wearing, props up, looks out the window, and apparently he was really content just watching the world go by for 6 hours, which I was like, oh man, that's
not a bad thing. Hey, like if you have time and you're not going anywhere, you can just shut your mind down. Like maybe you loved looking out at the pastures and the greenery. And I've heard Coventry is kind of in that, like it has that little Midwestern feel. What I've been told a little bit. So maybe he was just sick of Minnesota and he was really loving all the UK had to offer, right? So, but no, I could definitely see that. He read. I remember him reading a good bit, but for the most part, generally a quiet guy. Incredibly funny if you get him comfortable and start talking, but off the cuff, I would say he would come off as more reserved than others, I would say.
Yeah, I understand that.
But a great guy, nonetheless, a great guy.
Yeah, I love Matt. I love Chris as well. I don't think you cross paths with Chris, but he's a really good dude too.
No, I did not. But
no, he retired too soon from the game. He had a lot left to give in the game, I think. But if I remember rightly, he's just got engaged or just got married. So I understand that's where life can take you. But let's talk about that season in Quad City, because I mean we've talked about the highs, but there was a little bit of a low that year, wasn't there? Because at some point, I can't remember exactly when it was in the season, the ownership announced that this is going to be the last year. We're going to fold the team at the end of the season. So was that kind of a bit of a strange mentality, because what the destination of this journey is?
Yeah, it was a little odd hearing that when they announced that. It kind of felt like it wasn't what everyone really wanted to be happening, and it didn't. And that's the part of life where you remember that this is a business and things are happening and you're not running the show. Yeah, that's where it comes back into, where are you in the universe? You're a hockey player, but you're not you're not part of the business operations. You're not, the head, the brass making the big decisions, right? So you gotta remember where you are and where your place is in this role of, the team, and know that you're not going to get to make decisions, and you might be told things that you might not be happy with. But the team was kind of taken back by that. The city definitely wasn't happy with it, and the last couple weeks we had home games. We had like more people than I had like ever seen there before.
Oh, wow.
And it was like, once they heard that the team wasn't coming back, everyone was like, well, let's try and like show them, to maybe change their mind and keep it. But I mean, they had already kind of done their deal with that. And that wasn't it was a good learning experience because it wasn't that great of a year of hockey. We had a lot of guys get hurt. A lot of guys leave for Europe like pretty early into the year.
Oh, okay.
So we kind of had a team set up, and then it really got dismembered really quickly, and and then you're just bringing in new guys all the time, and it was kind of a downward spiral, and the coaching and like guys in and out, and it was just a lot of turnover in one season. So I don't think it was like kind of like perfect storm of anything that could go bad, like was going bad. But like I said, if you don't win, you're learning, and you learn how to deal with adversity like that. When things aren't going your way, like how are you gonna like bounce back, like personally, and you want the team to do as well as they can, right? Because reality is you're not going to win every game, but you certainly don't want to be at the bottom, and that's where we ended up. And I battled through injuries that year. Like I played through something for a while that I probably shouldn't have. Now that I look back on it, and you give up what you can, but I wasn't operating at my fullest, and I know a lot of guys weren't either. But it's not like they had a lot of people coming in to help. So it was an interesting year, I'll say that. But
yeah, it sounds it.
Like I said, like you're not going to have sunshine and rainbows your whole career. And to be able to get through that and go, okay, like why did this not work, right? Like why was this wrong? What happened here? And sometimes you don't have all those answers, but you can at least look in the mirror and look at yourself and go, okay, well, what can I do differently now? And like I said, that auditing process where you just have to kind of come back and go, okay, it's a new day. Of course, they're working outside now.
That's so good. I think we can hear you just okay for now.
Okay, good. Sorry, guys. Sorry.
If it gets too much, we have a really good media manager. He'll just get the editor out and just go. We'll just.
No, that's perfect. That's perfect.
But you said in that, I'm going to use a really bad pun. It's not always sunshine and rainbows. But where you ended up, there's a lot of sunshine down there in Orlando. And from looking at what you were able to achieve there, and kind of, you were huge in the community there too. That sort of sounds a little bit like you almost found what you had at RIT. Is that more or less fair?
Yeah, it's still a different route because you're not in college anymore, and you're not like really tied there as closely as you are with in the pro game. And it's a little bit different because you're not treated as like a kid. It's not like, we have you here for 4 years, like you're still at the end of the day like a piece of meat, but I mean, it's a mutual understanding, right? Like you're providing a service and they're giving you a job. So with that, I still love the relationships I built down there. We had an incredible fan base down there. I met some incredible people that just love hockey, and they're great people too. And that's just kind of the fun part where, they have their lives, they have their jobs and they're all over the place, but they just love hockey. And, Tampa Bay winning and being as good as they are helped us because we were under that umbrella. That was our affiliate. So, and everything being right down there was incredibly helpful, I think, for us as well. And we played in a great rink, I think the best rink in that league. The way they treat the players is like an AHL team in the ECHL league. I loved every second I had there. And I was treated incredibly well by the staff and the management, and I really loved my time there. And I had 3 solid years there. I was really thankful to get traded there. Usually when you get traded, the first time I got traded, I was leaving Florida, going to Quad, and I asked like, "Where's Quad City?" And then I was in Fort Wayne, and I got traded to Orlando, and I'm like, "All right, could do this." And
Yeah.
that was when that winter vortex came through, so it was a big blizzard. That day, I was moving
Oh
out, so
no.
in like a matter of like 3 hours, it was like sunny, and then it was like a snowstorm, and then I was just going south, and then the next day it was 80 degrees, and I was happy. So it was great.
You could
Nothing
hang
really
out
wrong with
by the
that.
pool.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Not,
Put the
not
work in, and go to the pool.
not doing much of that in Quad City. But you had awesome coaching in Orlando as well. Drake Barahowski, I mean, what a guy to learn from. I think he had some like 600 NHL games as a defenseman. So I guess maybe you felt that affinity to him as well, being, in that position that he was in.
Yeah, it was nice. It's always nice to hear from someone who's done the path that you still want to do, and
Yeah.
he understands what the nuances of you can't just do this one way, right? Like you can take many different routes, and you got to understand the sacrifice and how to get to where you want to be. And I also the year after I had Mark Lefebvre, and he's coaching in France right now, and he was a
Yeah.
great D coach for me, and I had a great relationship with him, and kind of understanding when to coach and when to just kind of let you be, because you're adults, right? Like I said, you're
Yeah.
not like a kid anymore, so they know when to give and when to kind of just let off the gas and just let you kind of figure it out yourself. But then the years after that, I had Jared Stahl, and like,
Oh.
what better, you know what I mean? Like the information and just the access of so many things between Drake and Stalzy. It was just incredible that you just can't find that, right? Like you
No.
either have that or you don't, and we had that readily available through our skates and how we systems, how you conduct yourself, and
Yeah.
the stories, and it just really helped everything, I think, in the sense of, like you said, like everything's connected, right? And you
Yeah.
understand how to be the best and set yourself up the most efficient way to be successful.
Yeah. I mentioned just a few minutes ago that you were big in the community there. They awarded you the Rob Kenny Memorial Award, and that's for services to the community. What kind of stuff are you getting involved with back then?
Whether it's going to schools and reading to maybe like inner city youth that might not
Yeah.
have as many visitors. A lot of hospital visits.
Yeah.
Kids that are going through a lot harder things than we are,
Yeah.
medically, like uh, mentally as well, and just anytime I could, whether it's like fundraisers for like marathons, going out and helping. And one of them was like serving beer to the joggers, but they're raising money for like ALS, and it's like it
Yeah.
didn't really matter. I always loved the kids. Like those hospital visits were never anything, because like you practice, you work out, you got other stuff, you're tired, but then it's like, well, these kids are, you know what I mean? Like what they're going through, they shouldn't be going through. And I can always find energy for that. And just to bring a smile to them, and, they look at you like a rock star. And
Yeah.
it was just always fun playing games. Cause if you can bring them just a little bit of joy when they're literally in pain in a hospital, like that's not what a kid should have
Right.
to go through. And to bring any sort of happiness to that, I will always try my best to make time for it, honestly. So, but I was able to do that, and Orlando did a great job of setting that up. I've been on some
Yeah.
teams
Yeah.
where they really don't do too much of that, because it'd be easy to not do anything. It's always easy to not do something, right? But it's I think it's more rewarding when you can kind of put something together and actually
I agree.
take care of those who maybe have less than you. So
That's that's a
but yeah,
that's a very
I
good way
always
to put it.
enjoyed it, and yeah, I was happy to get that award, but that's not the point of why I did it, and it's not what I was looking for either. Like I don't need any pat on the back for that. It's something I enjoy doing, and if I can, I'll try and give as much as I can.
I know you're shying away from the pat on the back, and the hospital stuff and the stuff in the community is amazingly commendable. And And I love how you've articulated that. It's really beautiful. But I think there are quite a lot of hockey fans and a lot of hockey players that will give you a pat on the back because when you're involved in the PHPA, you guys helped in a big way actually get some East Coast hockey in that lockdown year. How did you end up representing the PHPA and what was it like? Was it a lot of meetings around the table, or how did that work out?
Well, it was more stuff like this. It was online because we couldn't talk to each other. We were supposed to have the
meetings around the table.
Yeah, exactly. But the season ended, so it was kind of like, now guys are missing out on, a good amount of pay, and that's what they rely on to take care of their families. It's not just, and that was a part too of how to divvy up, who, if we can raise some money, who really needs it, right? And that came from people honestly answering and looking at their situations. It's like, okay, well, are you living with your parents right now? Do you really need the money? Do you have a wife? Do you have kids? Are you in an apartment and you can't go anywhere and you really need this money right now? So we were able to, everyone kind of keep their teams in line and answer honestly, because listen, everyone would take money, but it's like, are you going to be okay? Or not? And that's an honest question. And we were able to do that and get the season back up and running between, what we would have to do on a daily basis, and people would have to understand that, and you'd have to test 4 or 5 times a week or every day. But it's it's either that or not playing. So wouldn't you want to do anything you could to play? And the people that did signed up and did it. And so you got to swab up your nose. Who cares? You know what I mean? At the end of the day, it's is that going to ruin your day? Because if that'll ruin your day, well, I think a lot of other things will mentally unhinge you as well. So, but like I said, you want to play hockey, and this is what you got to do. And we all kind of came to that consensus where it doesn't matter who you're playing, and you hate this other team. It became about guys getting a sustainable job to take care of their families. That was the most important thing. How do we get this back on track? And the leaders of every team were able to get together, and we did it through the calls, and we had a lot of conversations, a lot of phone calls, but those are necessary. Otherwise, we'd be having people that weren't the players make decisions for the players, which doesn't really make a lot of sense when you think about it. So, but we were able to come together, and we had a lot of great leadership. Not just me. There were guys older than me, and there were guys that took a lot more onus and heat and asked really hard questions when they needed to be asked, to make sure that we, the players, were getting as much as we could, and rightfully so. And I think that worked out probably as good as it could when looking back at it now. That's not an easy task. And for us to be able to get the season back running, albeit a little late,
sure.
We still were able to have hockey that next season. So I think kudos to the guys older than me, and those who really took onus to make sure that they were doing everything they could for their teammates and guys that you battle against every night. So
yeah. I think that might be one of those experiences that you'll look back on in 10 years having, hey, you might still be playing, but if you've retired in 10 years and whatever you're doing, working office, working in whatever you're doing, you might look back on that and think, man, that was one thing that really stuck out and set me up. Because what you've just described, different circumstances, the negotiation, the asking the hard questions, the organization, the relying on people. Yeah, it sounds a lot like a hockey team, but it also sounds a lot like the day job. And last year you had a year away from the game. You had some injuries, you had some other stuff in life outside of the ring to take care of, but you've still clearly got that drive and that hunger to stay in the game. So how did that phone ring? How did it come to be that Danny Stewart was on the other end and said, hey, Alexander, I want you to come to Coventry?
Well, it was just kind of through the agent that I have, and he, there were a couple other things throughout Europe that just didn't kind of, I guess, turn into the right fit. Mm-hmm. And then it was kind of a conversation of, okay, are you interested? Would you be interested in playing in the UK? And I was like, well, I know a lot of guys that play there. What's the details? And you kind of start asking more questions of, the opportunity and the university. was appealing to me. And
Yeah.
you know, I went to school, but I don't have, you know, I didn't have that extra, you know, MBA, and that was something really cool and something I take pride in. And you know, I want to, you know, be able to go to school in a different country. I think that's
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
incredibly interesting, and that's a cool experience to be able to say that, and all be able to do that while playing hockey in a team for a team in a different league in a different country. You know, it's a different part of the world. I think there's so many experiences with that. It was like, why would I not, right? Like I said to Danny, I go, I think it would be really silly for me to not do this. So let's try and figure this out. And, you know, it was a little back and forth of him trying to, you know, he does his work on everyone,
Sure.
just like I did on him. You know, between I'm asking my old teammates, you know, what's it like here? What is, and I've heard nothing but great things about the city, the team, and Danny personally, and the coaching staff, Kino as well. So after hearing that, and then I think he kind of heard similar things about me. You know, we had that first conversation, and I think a lot of questions were kind of alleviated within a couple minutes, kind of with our conversation as well,
Yeah.
where it's like, okay, like, you know, I'm not, it doesn't feel like, it feels kind of natural, you know?
Yeah.
So we had a great conversation, and it was like, well, let's try and, you know, nail this down. And I think it was like a day later, you know, a day or two
Wow.
later, and it all worked out. And like, here we are now. So, um, like I said, that typically it happens really quickly, right? The turnover of
Sure.
kind of the information to an offer to going, yeah, let's do it. And that's just kind of not a lot of contracts like that are like really drawn out, right? Because
No, no, no.
I just don't think that's how it works. So
No, I
at
think as
least in
well,
minor hockey.
like when it feels right, it feels right. I think we've all been in situations, you know, whether it's going into a job or I don't know, you're just in a conversation with somebody about whatever, and you know something's just not. I'm not really feeling this. This doesn't feel quite right. So I guess if you're really passionate about something, something just twigs in your brain like this is a great opportunity. I feel this. I guess that makes it happen a lot quicker, as if you're kind of holding out and maybe you've not got 100% buy into a scenario.
Yeah,
Tell,
but it was
tell us
just
about
kind of like
yeah.
Danny and I both had. Well, one last thing. I mean, I was just full. I mean, I don't hide anything. I think you've kind of picked up on that now. Like I don't,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, I have nothing to hide. So I was as honest as I could with Danny about, you know, I said, you know, here's the type of player I am. You know, this is what I do. This is what I take pride in. You know, I know what I am. I know what I'm not. You know, what are you looking for? Is that something that I can provide? Is that something that you want? Um, and you know, we came to that conversation, and it was like, yeah, so let's do this, right? So that's kind of that was enough for me, where it's like, well, you know what you're getting. Here's the face value, right? So
Yeah.
we both kind of had that conversation, and it was a thing that we both wanted to move forward with. And like I said, so here we are, thankfully.
Yeah, and that type of player, I think you've kind of talked about it in pieces through this this podcast. You've got that solid defensive foundation. You've clearly got the frame to play the position and do some of the harder stuff. But also you've got that clearly got that offensive upside as well. That two-way game. We've seen you move the puck. We've seen you jump into the rush. So you kind of feel like you've got a really well-rounded game defensively. Is that fair?
I think so. I mean, I definitely take like defense is number one for me. Like, there's nothing more that I love than to like shut down the top lines, and that's typically my role and what I've been doing, especially in the South Division. There's a lot of high-scoring games there, and a lot of really good players that I've come across during my time, and I've always taken that as my challenge to shut down those really good players, because I mean that's my job, but I also just really enjoy it. But I've always had this offensive side that, you know, and listen, you got to know your role, and you're not always going to get power play time and all of that. But that doesn't mean that I can't provide 5-on-5. Or I mean, most of my goals are like shorthanded too. That's the funny thing. But like I know when to jump in, and I know when to and when not to, and I think you get that with experience, right? Like this isn't my first or second year pro, right? This is going to go like almost my sixth, maybe seventh,
Yeah.
if you want to call it that. So I think you just get an eye for situations on when to and when not to, right? And that's kind of a thing you learn over years and games and just having repetitions over and over and over. And, yeah, but first and foremost is more defensively, keeping the puck out and blocking shots. And taking hits to make plays. If I got to go, get crushed to break the puck out, well, that's what I'm getting paid to do. So I know that's my role, but I like that. I enjoy that. Like I said, the one thing I said to Danny, I've always taken pride in trying to be that steady Eddie for my other teammates on the ice. I don't want them to ever feel like I'm a liability, right? Like I want them to go out and be there on the ice with me and go, okay, like, I can take a chance, or I'm going to be okay if things go. And that'll let them be more comfortable and let them play to the player that they are. And at the same time, just on the flip side, whoever you're playing against, oh man, like I know he's got a good stick. I know he's going to block a shot. You know what I mean? I know he's a really defensive player. Like this isn't going to be easy to get ice, right? So it's kind of a two-way side of it of, who you're playing against. And because you always know who you're out on the ice with.
Oh yeah.
And, whether it's, all right, well, maybe I can take a chance, or, maybe I'm just trying to not let them score, right? You got to know your role, and you got to know who you're out there with constantly, because if you just play one-dimensional, you're probably not going to play pro for very long. So
For sure.
But I think I have more offensive upside, but that's something I'm continually working on, but that's not something I would like label myself as. But I try to contribute. Like who wouldn't? Defensivemen now I think have to be, right?
Yeah.
Obviously I lean more towards defense, but I think I have a good slap shot. I usually get pucks to the net. And I'm not out there dancing like Cale Makar, but I think I have an idea of when to jump in and when not to, and I think that's just from experience.
Yeah, for sure. Alexander, I've really enjoyed this. Thank you so much.
I have to, man. I appreciate it. It's been a pleasure. I'm happy we finally got to talk, and we'll get to meet soon in person, and just a couple weeks away.
Yeah, for sure. You've already said there's a wedding in there somewhere. What's the next couple of weeks looking like? I'm assuming it's getting all squared away and hopping on the plane.
Yeah, training. I gotta get all the university stuff lined up. I got some house projects with my brother I want to do while it's still nice out, and it's kind of easier with two people rather than one. So little touch-ups on the house, little painting, some sanding, get everything done, and hang out with my mom, and just some family time, and just hopefully get them over here at some point. I don't know when, but yeah, like you said, just tying up, crossing the T's, dotting the I's, and just making sure I have everything, and just keep skating and training and getting ready for hockey season.
Well, it's got me chomping at the bit just speaking to you to not just see what you're bringing to the team in a few weeks, but to seeing what the whole picture looks like. So thanks again, man. I really appreciate your time. Guys, thank you so much again for joining us here on Blaze TV. If I'm right in thinking, we've only got one more signing to announce, and then the Coventry Blaze roster for the 2022-2023 season is complete. And there's something beautifully complete about that. So I'm looking forward to being in the rink, calling games on Blaze TV in a couple of weeks, seeing the guys in action, and like Alexander said, meeting them all in person too. So from Ed Kimberley, from everybody at the Blaze, from everyone on Blaze TV, from Alexander, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you soon. Take care.